William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Well, first I want to really thank you for doing this. I think this is tremendous service for us to be able to share this information. And I am so excited to be at EarthX. I want to thank Tramo Pro Escrow for inviting us and for being one of the instructors of our Global Accelerated Business Schools. I want to introduce you to actually Wang Ming. And Wang Ming is the first solar architect. He's actually the leading solar architect in the world who has a city where 7 million people heat their water with solar energy, and the whole city actually has solar energy lights. Okay, so all the lights in the city are powered by solar. So he was the first man to pass the first green law in China. We're talking about a billionaire with heart, a man who really cares about the environment. So he's very busy working on the greening of China. And I want to show you very quickly, you need to look at this solar cooker. This is actually a cooker that is a little bit old. I've had it for quite a few years in my garage. There are much better versions right now, but one of the reasons we are so committed to this work is because 4.4 million children and women die every year in emerging nations from dirty cooking. So this is, again, a kind of an old model. The new models, and you can see right here, you can actually see that you cook all your food by putting it in there, and you can put many different foods. And we even have a water container that you can actually boil water. They have very big ones that you can use in emergencies that will actually feed 50 families per hour. So it's an incredible technology. So what you're looking at is solar everything. We have, the company, and I am not a rep for them. I'm not selling this individually. I'm just showing you that you can have solar everything. This is, of course, a phone charger. Now they're much smaller, but I like these big ones. The more panels that you have, the faster that you can go ahead and charge anything. Then you have these beautiful flashlights with a little compass, and you can also break a glass. You would carry this in your car in case of an emergency. And of course, something really interesting here is the little solar hats. And these are just more of a showcase to show with the little panels. They're just fun. But it's a good showing that you can have solar everything. So now, that's what I've been doing for the last nearly 10 years. When I met Wang Ming through one of my business partners in China, I was so impressed. I didn't know that there was a whole city that actually had that kind of advancement. And then I started to learn how many really organizations and cities and 50% of the farmers, using renewables in China. Part of the reason is because they are really in need of solar power. They can't have enough electricity for all those people. But the interesting thing about me, as I said, my name is Dame D.C. Cordoa, and I am the CEO and owner of Accelerated Business Schools and a program called Money and You. I've been doing that for 40 years. And so what was so interesting for me, was that we have been churning out social entrepreneurs for many years. I trained people like Tony Robbins when he was 23 years old on logistics, on music. Tony was always a star. My mentors were the ones who trained them more in, just more advanced business technologies and strategies. Because at the time that I met him, I was quite young myself. I had just started the business. I was taking over their businesses. What is really interesting is that I also had the opportunity to grow with many of the big names that they attended a program called Money and You. And people like Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, the co-authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And then people like Robert Kiyosaki of the Rich Dad series, who was my business partner for 9 years, but we also hung out together for about 17 years. And the first Rich Dad, Poor Dad book is actually based on the work of Buckminster Fuller and our work Money and You. And here, let me show you the Accelerated Business Schools. This is now the new name we have is Global Accelerated Business School. And we are going to a whole new paradigm. Now we are beginning to train people who are ready to go into new technology, renewable energy entrepreneurs who want to make a difference. Because we're students of Buckminster Fuller, we are so excited to be able to share information where people can go ahead and create multi-million, multi-billion dollar businesses, but add value to humanity. So as you can see, our next one is going to be on November 10th through the 17th in Thailand. We just did one in Cancun. And this particular program is about, again, churning out social entrepreneurs that really care about the world and also want to be very successful and wealthy. So that is what we are about. So it's a combination of being able to do good, contribute to society, and to answer the question. And you have the little card, okay, that, and hopefully you will be able to show this to your audience, which is, how do we make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone? So that is the teaching of Buckminster Fuller. So Bucky taught us that, well, he taught us to constantly ask that question. And what I'm really asking all of you is that if you can have a product or a service that can answer that question, the likelihood of you being a much happier, fulfilled person that also can be extremely wealthy. You can be very rich, but more than anything else, you will be creating such goodness, because this is the only way that we're going to solve problems. It's not going to be a particular president. It's not going to be a particular party. Yes, they can make it a little bit harder for people to do what they need to do, some of them, but you need to understand that it has always been the people at the fringes, the way that they are in this particular event. And I really, really want to acknowledge Trammell Esbro, somebody that never has to do a thing in his life if he didn't want to, but yet he takes his fortune to completely connect and activate and be an activist and be a lobbyist and put his reputation on the line and work with, as a Republican, works with so many different across the parties in order to really educate people on the dangers that we're in right now ecologically. And I mean, it's so hard for us to really be able to see how tough it is right now for many, many people, but at the same time that you can actually have businesses and organizations that will solve problems, these particular problems, and you can create wealth on the way. So this is what our booth is about, and I want to also acknowledge everyone here. And Chris, coming in here and say something to the audience, because he is just talking about our booth. And we have this particular sign back there that's a little small, but you see Solar for Republicans. And I'm going to let my love partner and my partner in this path share with you a little bit about his book.
Great. So Solar for Republicans came to us when we were in a plane, and the neighbor in the seat was obviously a Republican. And he talked about solar, and we realized that everything he was saying was false. And we realized, okay, so the Republican press and the propaganda machine obviously gets a lot of non-true statements, and there is no other way that reaches them. Yeah, all the good information about solar is really in the liberal press or technological or the trade press. So I came up with the idea to write a book for Solar for Republicans to explain solar in terms that they understand and to also answer questions that they have. Because pretty often these questions are issued, maybe a little provocatively. Solar doesn't work anyway, and solar's way too expensive, and only the hippies have solar, and they don't get answered. So this book is there to answer those questions, explains solar, and it just explains it in terms of money, because that's an easy language to understand. Not kilowatt hours, not solar irradiation, not joules or volumes or anything like that, but everything is expressed in dollars, and that makes a lot more sense. And we can't save the world without the Republicans on board, and so we got to talk to them in their language. The book is available for free on the website solarforrepublicans.com. Pass it back to my love partner.
And the one thing that I just wanted to say, I was so shocked. One of the reasons I'm so supportive of him writing this book is that I was talking to one of my closest friends who is a very successful Republican from Arizona, and she just told me that solar was going out of business, that energy was going down, and that it was going to be an industry that was never going to work. I was so shocked that this is a completely intelligent, successful human being. And I said to her, where did you get this information? And it's like, this is completely incorrect. So I immediately, of course, told her about Trammell and about this particular conference and about the many people that we see at another organization that I hope that you go and interview, and that's Our Day, ourday.net. Is one of our favorite organizations where they have been the people that have really educated me, because up until just a few years ago, I didn't even know what a PV was. I mean, I throw the word around, but I really didn't have an understanding. So we don't have to become major, technical people in energy, but what we do need to understand is how important it is for us to get educated and for us to have an understanding of what's really happening on the planet. Look at the facts, look at what's going on. So right now, I'm not talking to you that you already know what's happening. I'm talking to those of you who think that this is fake news or whatever. And it's like everything. We live part of the time on Maui, and we just had the news about what's happening in Kauai. They just had the most horrendous rains in Kauai, in an area that they have had rains before, but not like this, not all over the world. And you wonder why the Chinese have put $3 trillion of their money into the environment. They've been doing stuff for a long time around renewables, but it is their very survival. They're not doing it because they're good guys. It's because if they don't, they're going to run out of water, they're going to run out of food, and they're going to all die of some horrible lung diseases. So it makes the movie Soylent Green look real. So what I'm passionate about is for you to really get it, that it's really important for you to know that you can make a difference. And we don't have to whinge, complain for too long, but what we can do is to get that you can be educated. Go to my program, moneyandyou.com. Go to My Access to Cash, and you can, for $10, you can download a business on teaching you how to do entrepreneurship and do good. Or just go ahead and just hang out. Just Google me, DC Cordoa, and I have a lot of free education for those of you that may not be in that place, but I will educate you anyway, because this is my purpose. I've been doing this for 40 years. So thank you so much for everything that you can do. Thank you to the gentleman that is doing this particular interview. I am so thankful to you that you're going around and interviewing people and taking the time and energy I'm sure that you could be doing something else. And when we talked about how do you monetize this, you know, it's like, well, not quite. It's not quite monetized. And thank you. It's going to get monetized in another place in the universe. Aloha Nui Loa.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.